Okay.
Hey, Soul Sister, welcome back to another inspiring episode of the Hey, Soul Sister podcast. And today it's a special one. Why? Because March 8th marks International Women's Day. And it's a time to celebrate, honor, and uplift the incredible women who have shaped history and the phenomenal women who impact our lives every single day. From the fearless pioneers who fought for our rights to the quiet warriors who show up with love, strength, and resilience in our everyday lives. Today, we're taking a moment to recognize them all.
Yeah. So, when we think about the progress we've made as women, the rights we have, the opportunities that we get to pursue, it's important to remember that none of it happened overnight. And it took bold, courageous women who dared to challenge the status quo, who stood up when it was easier to stay silent, and who paved the way for the freedoms that we have today. Women like Malala, Rosa Parks, Marie Curie, Mother Teresa, Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama, just to name a few, who used their voices and their platforms and their determination to make history. And then let's not forget the women in our lives, our mothers, grandmothers, sisters, mentors, best friends, the ones who may not be in history books, but they've shaped our personal stories in ways that are so powerful. So we're going to get into it today. We're going to talk about those influential women.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I feel like this one is really near and dear to not even just like my heart, but to your heart too. Like this is what our whole platform is all around empowering women, helping women to really own their power, step in purpose, and to own their voice and to share their voices and to be seen, to be heard. So this is really exciting. I'm excited to just celebrate and to have the conversation. More importantly, to have the conversation with you guys, the listeners who are tuning in. And we really want to keep this as like an open conversation. And so we really invite you to be part of this conversation. So join us on our socials. Be sure to comment below. Tell us the parts that resonate with you. Also, we would love to hear from you as well, the amazing women who are in your life and who have inspired you and who have empowered your journey too. So as you're listening in, just keep that in mind to be part of this conversation.
Yeah, and it really helps when you share these conversations. Like it really helps our channel. It helps the message get across. And I think that, every woman has a story, but we're only mentioning a few today. Like we're only highlighting a few, but there are thousands and thousands and thousands, millions of women who have impacted us and other women in some way. Like if you think about your journey, you've had some sort of transition because of that woman in your life or women in your life, right? And so let's talk about some of the most influential women today. We're going to talk about a few of them. One of my favorites would be Malala. And I know many of you have probably seen her stand up against the Taliban and the oppression of girls' education in Pakistan. And at 15 years old, she was shot in the head for speaking out, but she survived and she became a global symbol of courage and activism. And she co-founded the Malala Fund. And it didn't stop her. The fear of getting shot again or being killed didn't phase her. She was on a mission. And so for women, I wouldn't suggest all of us do that because it is dangerous. But for her to stand up for other women and other girls the way she did is so empowering to me, especially being, an East Indian culture. Seeing a woman of that color and that standard come up and just not be afraid. And she's a light, So I want to give her a shout out on this podcast.
Love that. Yeah. It's incredible to me to see these amazing beings to have that courage, to have that kind of courage to show up. And that their message is so deep and it comes from a place that is so deep within themselves that they believe in it, right? And to have that sort of belief where you stand at nothing to making sure that your message gets spread because it's so powerful and it has the ability to make such a change in the world that you're willing to stand up and
Mm,
to fight back. So that's
yeah.
incredibly inspiring. And I had no idea actually. And so like when we were talking about this earlier, Sherry, and you had pointed out Malala and you shared some words about her, and I was just like, this is incredible. Like what a an amazing woman to be able, and like a girl too, like at
And the youngest
15,
Nobel Peace
like
Prize receiver. Yeah.
yeah.
The youngest.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
So I would have to share like the next figure, and all of you guys surely know who this is. I'm sure like growing up, she was in your on your living room TV most afternoons. And this woman is someone who has really inspired my journey into the world of wanting to spread my message and building platforms and in public speaking as well. And that would be Oprah Winfrey. And,
Hmm.
as you guys all know, like, I don't feel like Oprah
I'm
really
not
needs
sure.
much
Who's Oprah?
of an introduction,
Maybe
right?
if we tag Oprah, she'll see it and she
Yeah.
may.
Hey, Oprah, bring us
Hey.
on your show. We want to be on the Super Soul Sundays.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, like Oprah is someone who's just been such an incredible figure for so many, not just women, just like for people all around the world, right?
Mm.
And she started off with a journey of her own. Like she endured, sexual abuse as a child. She had a really tough upbringing, and she really just went on to break barriers, right? She started
Hmm.
off as, I believe, a journalist, and she was like a reporter, and that's how she kind of like started getting into TV. And then when she had her show, she made a really bold move. And I love this so much. And that's why Oprah became Oprah as she is today. But she made such a bold move in the TV industry. And that was going on to share stories of other people. So, like stories of, just resilience, of hard challenges, like
Hmm.
just of everything. And
Hmm.
then if you really came to understand and know like the stuff that Oprah put out there, it was really helping. Her main mission was really to empower people, to impact people, and to spread truth as well, right? And she used her platform for good. And so, yes, it was like in the world of entertainment, but she chose to make it good entertainment. She
Yeah.
chose to really do good with her platform and to spread a good message. But yeah, I think that Oprah also has such a strong message when it comes to knowing yourself, owning your power, and I relate it to Oprah in a lot of ways based on just that whole self-love journey,
Yeah.
learning how to love yourself, learning how to believe that you're enough. And so a lot of things that have really like resonated, and a lot of good that Oprah has done in the world. And so she's definitely someone that I want to highlight and celebrate today.
Yeah.
So
I think that I also want to highlight her because I grew up watching Oprah in my room too. And I even bought the whole DVD set for her whole 20 years that she was doing the show. And I rewatched a lot of the episodes. And one thing I would have to say is that part of me and my thinking is because of her. Like the things she said opened my eyes. And, not only my life experience, but listening to her validating those things for me. And watching other people go through the things they've gone through and giving you that inspiration that no matter what you're going through, that you can make it, that you can make it through. And I think that's also why we're doing Soul Sisters. And it's almost like I don't want to say like a full circle moment, but it feels like it's like a domino effect in some way because we've always wanted to be on Oprah show. You know what I mean? It's like I wanted to be on the Oprah show. I wanted to be a guest or something or go watch her, or go see like she was this person who really made you feel like the world was okay. You get a car, you get a car. I'm not talking about that, but she loved to give back, right? Those things you love to see people smile, right? Because of what she's done. And it cannot be easy being in the limelight in on TV and in front of millions and millions of people. And she's received a lot of backlash in her years, but it never seems to faze her because she is who she is. She is authentic in her own way. No matter what anyone says, she has changed. She has changed the world in her own way. She's paved the way for other women and, to use their voice, to be seen, to be heard, and not to lose hope in life, And so, yeah, for me, she's one of the top ones for sure. And she's still going. Like, come on, keep going. We're here for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go on to the next one. And I think this one is really neat. This is Mother Teresa. Many of you probably heard of Mother Teresa. If not, your parents probably have. Mother Teresa, she dedicated her life to serving poor people, like people in need. And she founded many missionaries of charity and organized and provided care for sick and hungry people in India. And fun fact, I used to live in India. So I used to live in Calcutta, where she lived. And another fun fact is her birthday is on the same birthday as my mom's. And my mom would continuously talk about her and how her birthday was on her birthday. And anyway, I'm living in India at the time when she passed away. And I remember that they had a wake for her, like a viewing. And it was in this big church. And she was in this glass case. And there was a lineup. When I say a lineup, it was like down the street. And we all like stood in this line just to go around her casket and look at her. And I saw her. I saw her in her casket, in her glass case. And it was a profound moment because I saw how many people came out for her. And her, her selfless service also earned her a Nobel Peace Prize. And later, she was, she left a legacy of service and compassion, and she has left a lasting impact on those people of India and, those people in the, economically challenged communities. So, yeah, I'd just like to give Mother Teresa a shout out today.
I love that. I feel like actually, my mom, I grew up hearing my mom talk about Mother Teresa quite often as a child. And I think that for her, Mother Teresa was someone who always inspired her as a little girl, as a young mother, as a young woman. I think she was always inspired by Mother Teresa. So it's just really cool to hear that, and it's also really cool to also hear that at the time of her passing, you were living in India and that you actually got to go to her viewing. Like that's incredible.
It was pretty incredible. At the time, I didn't really realize how incredible it was. But now I look back and I'm like, I got to see one of the most influential women who definitely impacted and made history in our world, right?
Yeah.
And she's another light. Like, I feel like God picks these people for a reason, right? We talk about women, like, they're not here by accident. They're here to serve a purpose, to be a light. And something within them, like, moves them into these spaces of purpose, right? And it's like, it gives you strength in your own way because you're like, what is my purpose? If their purpose is that big, what is my purpose? If they can make it to that point the way they did with, even with fear, even with, not knowing what's going to happen to them at the end of the day, like Malala, and just doing it, what charged them forward? What motivated them? And I think the thing that motivated them was just service. It was serving others. It was helping others. It was creating that impact, not for themselves, not for their reputation to be famous. A lot of these people did it because they knew that the cause was bigger than themselves.
I think you're right. I think that when you're doing something that is bigger than yourself, it does give you that motivation to push past barriers, to push past the challenges that you'll face, and also to push past the fear. Because I can think of even personally in my own journey of, setting things in motion that I wanted to work toward. And even this, right? Like us doing Soul Sisters, it's had its challenges. It's not always super easy to do, but I think that for you and I, we sat down, and it's always been really important for us to really be clear and to always go back to what is our intention. And our intention behind Soul Sisters is greater than ourselves. So there's never ever any like ego that can get attached to it, because we believe in the fact that like we're here for a reason, for a purpose, and that's to uplift other women, to help them step into their power and to really activate and step into their purpose, right? And so when we see that, and we see that the ripple effect that that can have out into the world, it just makes everything feel so much like easier, I want to say. It does make everything feel easier to an extent, because it's greater than yourself. Like, you know, like sometimes you won't do things for yourself.
That's what we say. I always tell you, I'm like, Whitley, what we're building here, it might seem small right now, but it's bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? And so we're just going. We're not looking at the numbers. We're not looking at the follows. We're celebrating every woman that comes and listens to the podcast or follows, because that's one woman that we could help or could get inspiration from another woman on our podcast. And so our mission is to create that space one woman at a time, you know?
Yeah.
And to create a movement of women who
Right.
really like want to be empowered and be inspired and live in their purpose, live in their truth, right?
And really like to waking up to who they truly are, but owning who they truly are and aligning to that fully. And when you pair that with stepping into purpose, there's so much magic that happens, you know? And yeah, when I think of like Soul Sisters Rise, like it's so fitting, right?
So fitting. So fitting.
Speaking of rising, the next on our list is Michelle Obama, and how she rose to become the first Black lady. First Black lady.
It's hard to say. First Black first lady.
The first Black first lady.
Yeah.
And of the United States, and how Michelle Obama really redefined that role, you know, and advocating for health, for education, and women's rights, and her Let's Move, right? And I think like through that like campaign, she tackled a child obesity, and her Reach Higher as well initiative encouraged students to like really pursue higher education as well, right? So she was like, she spent a lot of time focusing on like health and education for youth, right? For younger folks, and that being our future generation was so powerful. And, you know, through her book Becoming, you know, she just really empowers women and young people to really embrace their authenticity, their confidence, and their purpose, right? And so I think Michelle really set the bar as a first lady, and we talk about how, you know, how when we come here, we all have a purpose. And, you know, when you see these women out there, when you see people out there doing these great, amazing things, you know that they're walking in their purpose. They've figured out, or they have found a way to really use their voice, use their platform, use their influence to empower change and impact. I think that, Michelle has just been like such a huge role model for so many young people.
She definitely used her platform well. You know, being the wife of the former president, she used her platform well. She didn't use it to make him bigger than he is. She used it to help. She used it to, like you said, educate young people and help them understand that they are enough, that they can take charge of their lives. And I think that was her mission in all of this. She saw the opportunity and she did it. It's like, you don't always have to follow the footsteps of what you think you need to follow. It's like, change the narrative of your life, change the mission, right? And she did exactly that. She wasn't hiding behind a man. She went,
and that's
for
just it too.
herself.
Being the wife of the first Black president, right?
Yeah.
Those are some big shoes to step into, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, raising two young girls at the same time, but and amid all of that, she still found the time to be able to really use her influence for the greater good, right? And it's just like, it's incredible. And it's women like it's women like that that really inspire me and give me
Yeah.
hope that there's so much, like, that so much is possible, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are just a few women. Those aren't
Yeah.
even like the whole book, you know? And I think it's important to highlight some of the women before we get into the women in our lives and who's influenced us. And maybe you have someone special in your life right now that has influenced you, or maybe they're not in your life right now. Maybe it was someone from your school, like your teacher, or, a mentor you had, or your grandmother, or your mother, or your sister, whoever that is for you. If you think back, there's usually, behind every woman, there's another woman, right? So I believe that we all have been shaped in some form due to another woman inspiring us or helping us, supporting us in
Mhm.
some way. So I'm going to start off with yours if you want to go for it. Really?
Yeah. So I made a list because
Okay.
and I've
You
got
need
it
a list.
here.
Yeah, I get it.
So yeah, I'll go through them really quick, and I really want to hear from our listeners, like our soul sister
Mm,
community, like who are those women that have also inspired and shaped your journey too. But for me, I'm gonna say my grandmother. My grandmother has really inspired me to be more selfless. Like, she's such a strong, selfless, kind, compassionate, loving being. And I believe that, like, her purpose here, she's had such a hard life too, but I believe her purpose was to be of service for others. Like I say, like, she's like an angel on earth, because it's like she's that person who the whole family leans on. She keeps the family together, right? She's the glue. But there's not a single moment that I can go without calling her up. I know, like, if I ever need anything, I can call my nan, right? And she's just so strong. And I think she's taught me to just be more selfless and giving, right?
mm-hmm.
The next person that would be also on there is my mom. Like, she's someone who is also, like, exhibits strength, right? Like, I come from a lineage of strong women, right? And my mom has always just been like this nurturing, kind, loving, supportive being, always. Um, always, like, told me from when I was really, really young that I can be anything I want to be. And the sky's the limit, and, like, just believe in myself, and, like, I can whatever I can dream, I can make happen. And I think it's those words of nurturing, of filling us as kids with, has really shaped me to going out and really believing that, despite, the things that I went through at a younger age, I always was embedded with the belief of, like, you can be anything you want to be, and that the sky is the limit, right? And so, like,
Mm-hmm.
thanks, Mom. I love you.
Love that.
Um, and you, like, my best friend, I don't know where I would be, like, without you, Cher. And the reason I say this is because it's like God gave me, we've got our best friends. Like, I've got, we have our best friends that we grow up with, right? And we'll never, ever not be best friends. But, like, I call you my soul sister because I feel like God gave me you when I needed you, because it was like God knew that I was going to need that person in my life who I could grow alongside with, who was going to always love me no matter what, and hold space for me as I continue to step into the becoming of me, the unfolding, the unraveling of Whitley stepping into Whitley, who she truly is. And I think that I do the same for you as well. And I feel like the universe, God, just, like, brought us together for a reason, because we were just meant to be able, like, we were just meant to walk this journey together. And when we think about what we're doing today with Soul Sisters, it's like, to me, I'm like, okay, it's so funny. Like, we were always destined to cross paths. And yeah, and it's so, like, I'm really, really grateful. I've got strong women in my life, And another woman who stands out is my godmother, Roxanne. She is such a huge, beautiful light. Anyone who ever has ever known her or gets to know her will automatically understand, because she's like this bright light that is a magnet and just draws people in because of her energy, right? She's so fun and loving and full of joy, and yet she has had such a such a harsh life, and she's gone through so much. I swear, this woman, she could have a movie done about her life, but she still stands strong. She still shows up, right? And so she's someone who I've always looked up to in terms of like always wanting to be a strong woman who doesn't take shit off of anybody, but shows up with that love and that charisma and that fun and that like playfulness. It's like her inner child is always out. And finally, my daughter who I gave birth to, even still as a child myself. I always like to say that like she's an old soul, because I feel like in another lifetime she may have been my mother. But she's such an old soul, but she's such a nurturing, compassionate, loving soul. And she has taught me so much. And it's so funny because, like, you think, like, as a mother, you're supposed to be teaching them. And of course, I'm sure I have in a lot of ways. But on a deep level, she has taught me unconditional love. She has taught me compassion. And she's taught me to just love. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. And she's just like this being who is just like just expels love for everyone in anything. And it teaches you, you know.
Yeah.
So those are, like, I would say, the core women that I can think of. I want you to share some of the core women, and then I want to share a few like little shout outs to some other women who have actually inspired parts of my
Yeah.
journey.
And by the way, thank you for that beautiful honor of I also will be mentioning you, because that's, if not the top of my list, is on the top of my list. But I see your family is like a mirror to you, you know, in a sense. Like, they are the ones that reflect back onto you. And when I look at my top influences, number one is my mother. I never really knew my grandmothers much, like, so it was not I didn't have that influence. Like, all I can remember of my grandmother is that, you know, she deeply loved my mother, but I barely saw her, you know? And my mom, though, I've seen all sides of her since, you know, I was a little girl. And the hardships that she's gone through in her life is unfathomable, you know? Like, getting through separation to moving country with us and trying to make it in India with no money, no nothing, you know, feeling suicidal and not really knowing who she was. And in those moments, you know, as much as it hurt me to see her like that, I learned so much about how to be a warrior. I learned so much about never giving up despite what happens to you, and that, you know, you can learn to forgive. You can learn to really change your life in ways by, you know, working on yourself and also loving your family. And she is a big nurturer, you know, coming from an Indian family. You would come to my house, and you know this firsthand, Whitley. If you come to my house, and my mom probably makes like 5 different meals, and she puts it all on the table, and she's gonna make you eat, you know, and she will give you the shirt off her back. She will, if I say I love your necklace, she'll take it off and she'll give it to me. That's the kind of love that I have from my mother, you know? And her love is unconditional. I could do the worst thing in the world and she would still love me, right? Sure, every mother has her flaws. Every grandparent has their flaws, or daughter has their flaws. But at the end of the day, it's the it's the love that really is unconditional. And no matter what we do, we won't stop loving those people who have loved us back in that way, you know? So that would be my number one influence. Who else would be my influence? You know what? I feel like there's so many women that I don't want to point out like one woman, because there's so many women across the board that have helped me. So I guess growing up in Canada too, like coming to Canada, I was here all alone by myself and I didn't know anybody. And these two women who were in my school, one was the teacher, one was my teacher, and one was she was like in the principal department or whatever, and she was overseeing everything to do with my, you know, being an international student and stuff. And I remember like being so lonely because I didn't have family, and they took me in. They took me in as their own, and I would go to their house and have dinner. I would go to lunch with them. They would invite me to things, and they came to my baby shower. They came to my wedding. One of my teachers, her daughter was my flower girl. Like, that's how close we became. So that's a big shout out to Anne and Lisa for being like a huge support in my journey of being here by myself in Canada. You know, and also I did miss my sister. I'm sorry. My sister is a big influence as well. I love her to death. She has influenced me bigger than she knows. And I don't think she gives herself credit for that, because, you know, I look at her and I'm like, you have gone through so much. She's more the submissive type, like growing up. And I was always the rebellious type, right? And so my sister would always take the brunt of every situation. And I would just like go against the force, you know, like do whatever I wanted. And poor thing, like she endured a lot of flack from me. Love her. But she's influenced me in so many ways too, because she's followed her own intuition in ways that, you know, I'm so proud of her for doing that. And even though she's younger than me, I want to also give her a shout out, because she is a big influence on me, on how I could be more, you know, thoughtful and quiet in my ways. So I do look at her for those things and how I can improve on certain things. So those people would be my top influence. And then the people that have helped me throughout my journey of, you know, in all of my careers, like people have been there for me during the course of my careers. Like I've gotten help in photography where I followed along, you know, Kelly Lawson, I followed her along and I got so much inspiration. I became really popular in the wedding industry. And I think it's because of her inspiration that I did that. And so we have to really give those credits where credits are due, because even if it's small, it doesn't matter. It's like, it's those little things that have paved the way for you. That small thing turned into something really big. You just don't know, right? And so, yeah, those, and then I think you have one of the similar women in our lives is there's Natasha. Both of us have her in our lives because she influenced me in so many ways too in my photography business. You know, she's the one who gave me the confidence to know my worth. She showed me my worth. She told me that I was worth it, and I didn't believe I was worth it, you know? She told me that I should raise my prices, and I did it because she told me, right? And it worked out really well because I listened. And the thing is like, those people, you know, the people that support you, you can tell they support you, right? And the people who don't, that just give you bad advice because they just want to give you advice, you know that too. Your gut knows it. Who's trying to help you and who's not really there to help you, right? But I really, lastly, and most importantly, want to mention my best friend, Whitley Jane, who has been my biggest, most influential, most like the rock of my life. And I don't talk about half the shit I talk to you about with my husband. So you know that you are my partner, my soulmate. We should just get married at this point, because we got together at a time where we didn't know that we were supposed to be best friends. And it was at such a time in our lives that could not be put there more perfectly. Being that we were both pregnant with our children who were 9 days apart, being that they were both boys, best friends, but also just knowing that we had so much in common, and not just in common, but the goals that we had for our lives and our purpose were basically the same. even though we're two different people, the goals that we had, the intention that we had, the mission that we had, the light that we wanted to share was the same the whole time. And now coming to this journey 10 years later, being best friends and being on this journey with you and Soul Sisters, holy shit, can we just say that that cannot be an accident. Like anybody that's put in your life is not an accident. And so I want to thank my best friend because I do not know if I could do this by myself. A lot of things that I've done, I don't think I could have done without you or done it as confidently without you. Or like, having that shoulder to cry on when you need someone to vent to or like to call up. I wouldn't have anyone to pick up the phone and call right now. And that's the thing is like living in Canada, I have very few friends. And I think a lot of people can relate that, you might have a handful of friends, you might have one friend, but just that one friend is enough. Just that one friend who supports you and your win is their win and their win is your win. Like there's no ego, there's no judgment, none of that. It's all love. It's unconditional love. It's just like having a sister or a mom or a grandparent. It puts it in the same category because it's a soul contract. It's somebody that has come to your life for this specific reason to help you move forward on that path. And you cannot deny that that was not accidental, that God didn't place that person in your life for this purpose, for this time that you're in right now and this journey that you're on right now. You would not be where you are without those people that you have soul contracts with.
It's so true. Yeah. So well said, Cher. And like, thank you. Like, thank you for all of those like kind words. I receive it with so much love and gratitude. And you're right. It's a lot of the people that come into our paths are meant to be in our paths, right? They're there to teach us something. They're there to help us. They're there to assist us in some sort of way. And like, I think that there's like a few people that really come to mind that have come into my path for a reason. And like you were talking about Natasha. And I'm like, yeah, like Natasha is definitely someone in my life too, because number one, I would never have like, I'm sure the universe would have figured out a way for us to meet. But the fact that like Natasha was that connector, that's literally how we met. But like she also was someone who gave me the opportunity to step into events when I was wanting to learn everything there was about event planning so that I could start my own event business, right? A dream that I had for so many years. And like she gave me that opportunity. But I also learned a lot, like being around Natasha, spending time with Natasha. Like I learned a lot. Like I learned how to be more confident. Natasha is really great with people. And like I really learned how to hone my people skills as a result of that. But super grateful just the fact that she gave me that opportunity to be able to like step into that and to learn. And that shaped my journey. It really, really did. Prior to me going to Natasha's, I actually was working in marketing because I had gone to school to take business and I went into marketing. And I was looking for my first job out of college. And I was applying everywhere and nobody wanted to give me a chance because I was young and fresh out of school, right? But there was this one person, her name was Sheila Kirkpatrick, and one of the like best real estate agents in the New Brunswick area. So just saying, shout out. When nobody would give me a chance with my first marketing job. And Sheila gave me my first shot at a job. She hired me on. And I learned so much about Sheila. And Sheila back then was like hard ass. Like she was like strong personality type. Like I was scared of her. I remember I was scared of her. But I learned so much, right? And like I remember growing a thick skin, okay? Because of Sheila. So like I can take criticism. I can take any kind of like thing that is against me and I can take it because I learned to grow a thick skin. Because when I would produce final like result of like my marketing work, she would like, I don't want to say tear it apart, right? But she would give me constructive feedback. And I remember back then, like my little ego, I just be like, oh, not good enough. But she was teaching me, she was showing me that like, how could you get a little better with this? So like she gave me that space to learn and grow and to like brush off your ego, Whitley. Like, just because you're fresh out of school and like you think you know everything. No, you don't. You know nothing. So like be open to learning and don't take it so hard, right? I think there's people that come into our lives to teach us these things. And that's the whole
Yes.
point that I'm sharing, right? But beneath it all, like I became really good friends with Sheila. She is like one of the most kind people that you'll ever meet, like someone who will like give the shirt off her back for you, right? But like she's just been somebody who's always been a mentor as well in so many ways. And I think it's like these people that come into our lives, they're there to teach us. They're our teachers in so many ways. And when they're your teacher, you will learn and that you're preparing for like what's to come, right? So a couple other people I want to shout out because these guys have also been parts of my journey who have been like really impactful or have like contributed. And one of those people, Heather Acker, she runs Connection Works. She was like co-founder of Connection Works in St. John. She is an incredible soul. And she's somebody who just believed in what I was doing back then when I wanted to start Skype, the Women's Network and everything. And like, she believed in me and like, she helped me. She would like in so many ways, right? And so like, she's somebody who gave me so many opportunities, who had an impact on me at these pivotal times in my life. And the last person that I want to shout out to, and by the way, like, there's so many other women. There are so many other people in my journey, but I can't share everybody on one episode. So the final person I want to shout out is Stacey Wood. Now, Stacey Wood was a teacher of mine back in high school. I actually ended up dropping out of high school because I was having my daughter. And after I had my daughter, went back to high school. And I was a little bit like, I felt a little out of place. Definitely, I was a little bit older and I felt out of place. But I remember Stacey seeing my potential, and she is like the role model of what teachers should be to aspire to be. A teacher who sees the potential in their students, despite their circumstances, despite, where they've been, they see their potential and they show that student their potential. And she's someone who's always stood out to me. I just want to say, like, I appreciate you, Stacey, and like, you're somebody who I have never forgotten about. And the fact that you saw my potential and you show that to me kept me going. And it's people like that in our lives, everyone, that we have to recognize those things, because we can't walk this journey alone. There are so many people in our lives. And if you just stop today and just think about the women or maybe even the men who have impacted you, even the tiniest little bit, they have, right? So
even the woman on the street, you could meet somebody at the grocery store and they could impact you in some small way. I feel like it's all around us. Like, when people are put in your path for a reason, always, whether it be for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, people are always put in your path for a reason. And I think today's episode was very important. I think that talking about Women's International Day, like celebrating it, is just like urging you, inspiring you, motivating you to look at the women in your life and to really celebrate them in some way. Tell them how you feel, just say, thank you for that time that you did this. Like, I wouldn't be here without that. Or thank you for inspiring this, thank you for posting that on Instagram, or thank you for this podcast or whatever. Like,
I love that. Okay, can we do something?
Yeah.
Can we do a thing? Can we do a thing right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so for all of you who are listening, okay, so this is what I want you to do, okay? Soul sister. I want to empower you to take a moment today, even pause this episode right now and go and do it right now. I want you to go pull out your phone, and I want you to either call somebody up, whether it's your mom, friend, colleague, whoever. I want you to pull up your phone, give them a call, or if it's easier, send them a text. And I want you to do this. I want you to send them a text, and I want you to, or give them a call and thank them for something that they did for you in your life, or how they've inspired you or how they've impacted your life. I want you to tell them, because so often, like Sherry is saying, we go without telling people, our loved ones, or even just folks who we don't connect with on a regular basis, how they inspired us, how they impacted us, how we've learned from them. So pause this episode right now, pull out your phone, or your phone's probably in your hand because you're probably listening to it, and send that text right now to that person, or
call. Better yet,
make that call.
Better
I
yet,
promise you're gonna feel so good. It will turn your day around, but more importantly, it will light someone else's day up.
Yeah, it's going to be a light in their day. Then it's going to bounce off the next person.
Yes.
And you tell them why you did this is because you heard it on the Hey Soul Sister podcast, and you just had to do it. So go listen to the Hey Soul Sister podcast and let's spread some love, guys.
I love this. I love this. Yeah.
So yeah, this is a great episode, and I am so thankful to have all of those women that came into my life and all of the women that are trailblazing right now in the world and making a difference for us and actually speaking up for us. And, it doesn't go unnoticed. So I think it's really reflecting on that and being grateful for that. And then also not dimming your light, because you're here for a reason. You're here to make an impact. You're here to live in your purpose, and we're here for it. We are here for it. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Yeah. And we're grateful for you. We're grateful for you to spending some time out of your day with us. We just want to extend that gratitude to all of you. Happy International Women's Day.
Bye, Soul Sisters.
Bye, Soul Sister.